Can you be my doctor? Hi, Tom Rolley from Graduate Medicine. I'm sure you have had this question before. I've certainly had this question, and it opened up an interesting conversation in my own mind. I'm like, well, maybe I should actually have a set number of patients that I look after, that I'm dedicated to. Now, this means that there's maybe 100, 120, 160, don't know yet what that's going to look like, but a set number of patients that are under my guidance, under my stewardship. I know them well, I know their histories. As opposed to the current general practice model that I see, which seems to be just everybody as a free-for-all and fit in wherever you can. And this has the very interesting side effect of not being able to get in to see GPs at all. That I looked it up today for where I live. I live close to the Byron Shire. And I know a number of the doctors. They're very good doctors. And most of them are at minimum 10 days away. Some of them through to early February, so more than 30 days away before you can get an appointment. Now, there is a downside to having a set list of patients, and that is that other people can't get in. But the benefit for those that I am looking after can get in. They could actually say, you know what, I'm a patient of Dr. Rolley's, I want to get in. And we may have to balance this out. We may have to make this kind of decision making coming forward, given that there seems to be far more demand for general practice than there are actual doctors willing to be GPs, either between baby boomer GPs retiring or other GPs who are in the system like myself just going, you know what, this job is exhausting. It's the COVID, but even without COVID, I think the difficulty of the job has been substantial and the rewards just haven't been there. And it's like, you know what, maybe I want to see less people, know them better, and that's going to decrease the risk of problems. Because that patient that walks in off the street, so to speak, you know, they've booked out of nowhere, but they bring a whole host of problems of which maybe I had nothing to do with, and yet they come and see me, and now what's my liability for that? Versus if I protect my books and say, you know what, I'm only going to see the people that are on my books. Now this gets into, I'm sure, some problems with NHS systems and other systems that have tried this, but we'll see how it goes. I'm at least more hopeful about a system where I have a set number of patients and I know them well. And then perhaps if the demand is not met that week, then there's a space for more. It's certainly something that I'm considering. Perhaps you should consider it too. How are you running your practice right now? Do you just see whoever walks in? Or do you have a set number of people? I have seen one of my other colleagues tried this for a while. And I think he was reasonably successful in it, that he had a set number of patients, and then once those set numbers were full, you had to wait and go on a wait list until somebody quit and didn't want to see him anymore, and then they could come on board as another doctor. Now, if you're any good, presumably that those patients stay on for years and years and years, and you just can't get in. Now, this will mean general practice comes under increased demand. But this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing because it will mean that the attractiveness of the profession increases and more medical students will say, you know what? I can see this model working. I can see where I've got my set number of patients and I get paid well. Now that's a proviso. This probably isn't going to work on bulk billing. Why? Because the demand's too high. There are people willing to pay for services that are like, you know what? I want to be able to get an appointment tomorrow with my doctor, and I want my doctor to know me. I want them to look after my family, and I'm willing to pay. And there'll be other people who just can't. But that, unfortunately, is a result of what has happened to general practice for the last 10 to 15 years. This problem in general practice didn't just appear. Yeah, sure, it's hit the newspapers in 2022. But none of these problems are new. All of us in general practice, or many of us in general practice, maybe not all of us, have seen these problems coming. When you freeze Medicare rebates for general practice, it's like, what are you doing? How much sense does this make to rip the heart out of the center of the Australian medical system, which is general practice? This can only lead to increased costs across the board. And yes, sure, some of those costs will be shifted to the states. But really, that's how stupid this whole thing is. That the federal government benefits from killing general practice by shifting costs into the states. But in all of this, this is what we've got. This is how it is. This is the situation. And it may mean that we see less people. I'm thinking about seeing less people, but they pay more for good service. And that may well be a very compelling offer that I don't see a whole lot in the marketplace right now. All right, that's all I got for you. I'm going to go hang out with my family on this public holiday. And I hope you're having an awesome day too. Post up your comments below. And I look forward to seeing you in another episode soon.